Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Leftovers, Season 2, Episode 8. It's called International Assassin. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. I had no idea what to think. When I saw the title was International Assassin, I was like, wait, what?
I was like, this sounds cool.
What show am I watching?
I,
What's happened?
I guess we should start by getting it out of the way. As you typically like to point out, yeah, I was wrong last episode. Because I said, oh, we probably won't see any of whatever Kevin goes through because the show typically hasn't done that. And I stand by what I said at the time. This was unexpected.
Did I disagree with you?
You did a little bit, but
Okay.
you said it might.
I wasn't going to take that victory, but I'll take it.
No. I'm not saying you weren't necessarily right because I don't know how hard you argued, but I was pretty sure that they wouldn't show any of that stuff just because the show has always been very vague about anything that's out of the ordinary.
I mean, we could talk about how closely, like, how we interpret what we actually see in this episode, but certainly I don't know if I was expecting a full episode in, like, this like, imaginary world. Maybe it's purgatory, maybe it's,
Yeah,
whatever.
whether it's real or not is another question, but
Yeah,
I
like,
wasn't expecting to see anything of what Kevin experienced.
yeah, and part of me even wonders, like, how much of this will he actually remember? Like, well, will he? I mean, I think he'll remember the important sort of lesson that he learned throughout it, but will he actually remember the story of everything he did in this
Right,
place? I don't know.
it's a good question.
Uh, but of course, it's called International Assassin, and I immediately go, "What the hell? What the hell? What? Where's this coming from?" Um, but sure enough, Kevin's an international assassin in this episode. We see him in fistfights. We see him assassinating people.
Just yeah, like it starts and like put on the outfit, and he walks out and it's like looks very James Bond there.
Well, Joe, was funny because he wakes. The episode starts. It goes straight into the music, straight into the opening titles, which it
It
hadn't.
was weird
Hasn't,
already.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then he wakes up in the bath and he gets out, and I'm like,
it's this whole birthing sequence, though, isn't it?
kinda, yeah. And I was like, right, I think they want us to think we're inside his head, or he's went somewhere after he's been knocked out. But I'm calling their bluff. And the moment where I decided it wasn't, I mean, obviously there's some obvious moments later when he sees Virgil, and it's like, okay, right, okay, we're not in the land
Yeah,
of the living here. But the moment was when he goes into the wardrobe, and there's like some different clothes to pick from, and one of them is his police outfit, and it's like his town
yeah.
from the first season, and I went, okay, this feels very much like, oh, this is his life in front of him, and he's to pick one. Like, we're getting to, and then somebody tries to assassinate him in his room. You know, the guy who delivers flowers, and he
Mm.
like busts out some moves, and he kills him. And I'm like, okay. And then we start to get weird because the TV starts like
And then we
flickering.
start to get weird.
Yeah, and then the TV starts flickering, and then after the TV flickers for a bit, the fire alarm goes off, and I'm like, man, everything's. And it's at this point where I kind of stopped and thought to myself, is this really like? Did it have to be this episode, the night after the Twin Peaks finale? Like, can I just have an episode where I don't have to interpret as much dream shit as
It's
I
a fair
as I
question.
just had to?
Yeah.
But sure enough, we're inside either a dream, purgatory itself, because there's certainly a lot of hints to suggest that this is like a purgatory-like place, because there's a lot of other dead people kicking around.
There is, and this all could be a delusion in
It could
Kevin's
be.
mind still. Like that's my point. It's never confirmed if it's real or not. It might be,
I
but
don't think it ever will be confirmed if it's real or not.
oh yeah, I don't expect it to.
But certainly there's a couple of things that maybe you could look at and go, well, would Kevin know about this to actually have this in here? Now, of course, we've already talked about in the past about how would he know about Patty's husband and that stuff, and how, oh, maybe he did have that knowledge and he just kind of forgot about it.
And Laurie mentioned that she's referenced it around him before.
Yeah, so we've got precedent for that, but it's like the whole symbolism was like a bird flying around, because the whole episode's set in this hotel, well, the most of
Yes.
it at least, and it's like in this hotel is this bird flying around, and I try to catch it. And it's like obviously that's making us think of stuff with the Murphys and like the bird in the box and the bird in the house, and trying to like hear it and
Yes.
like, would he know about this? And he did. I mean, he didn't hear that story. It was Nora that heard that story
Right.
from Erica. So
So why would this be in his head?
yeah, and especially the stuff with Virgil, because Virgil does have his, like, he does know what's going on to a point, because he sees Virgil, who's working at the hotel, and he's like, "Hey, Virgil, what shit did you give me? Why are we here? Like, tell me what's going on." They go to a car, and he explains to him, and he does ask the question, because obviously we did a lot of theorising at the end of last episode's review. You know, what's Virgil playing at? He kills himself. What's he doing? And he's like, "Wait a minute, I had to like die to get here. What are you doing here?" And his response is atoning.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, is it not actually as dark as we thought it was? It's like, he knows that Kevin needs help, so has he just killed himself to make sure that he can help him?
Yeah. Or it could still be both. The idea that he killed Kevin in a dark way. You know, he didn't resuscitate him. He didn't do it because of whatever reason. But then he couldn't live with himself. It was like, no, I'm going to go in and help. So it could still be both.
Okay, but why did he kill him then? Why did he not give him the stuff to resuscitate?
Whatever, you know, let's assume he was being threatened. Maybe they threatened his family.
Who threatened his
They
family?
said, no, you know, so we say, no, there's a reason that he didn't resuscitate Kevin, right? What if it was someone was threatening him, like going, hey, you got to kill him?
Oh, you mean the voice in his head? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Alright, I was like, who the hell are we talking about? Who's threatening him? Right, okay. Okay, so whoever he's seen. Okay, sure. Yeah, yeah, that's a reasonable explanation for it. I can see that. I'm thinking either that. I think that's a fair guess to make. Either that, or his plan was always to go in and help him.
Could be. Yeah.
But he lied about how he'd come back. Like, that was never the plan, was to resuscitate him. Like, that was just bullshit the entire time.
Yeah, it was just there for him.
That said, at the end of the episode, like, Michael does seem like surprised that it's worked, that he's back out. So I don't know. Given that he went in to help him, though, I do think that Michael, like, maybe he thought it was crazy and that's why he was arguing. Like, oh, this is crazy. This isn't going to work. You can't believe this is going to happen. But at the very least, maybe it painted that in a different light, where Virgil still thought he was doing a good thing, and he was telling Michael, "Come and get the body afterwards, and go and do whatever."
It's interesting. Obviously, you know, Michael didn't take him to a hospital.
No, he goes out into the woods and buries him, seemingly.
Right, exactly.
Not deeply. It's not so deep. It's not like a proper 6 foot deep burial.
No, it's
but
a very shallow grave, isn't it?
so he can, like, obviously still get out of it. But it's almost like Michael, when he says "holy shit" at the end, that he didn't really, like, he was told this was what would happen, but he didn't believe it.
Could
It was
be.
hard to swallow, kind of thing. Either that,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I'm feeling like Michael just wouldn't go along with, "Oh, you're going to murder this guy and you want me to dispose of the body." Like, I feel like Michael wouldn't just go along with that
Right.
if that's what he was told. So I feel like he was told, "No, we're going to do this spiritual thing, and then he's going to you have to
it's
do
like,
this."
bury the body in case he doesn't come back.
Maybe. I feel like it's a ritual thing, though. I feel like he's. I mean, maybe this will be completely shot to shit next week or next episode, but I feel like there's like, no, you have to, like, put him under soil and then, like, pour something over the soil as part of the ritual
maybe.
or something bullshit like that. I don't know. I'm sure it'll come up next week. I'm sure
I'm sure it will.
I'm sure
That's
Kevin's
going to
gonna
be
be like,
resolved. Yeah.
"Hey, why did you bury me, you asshole?"
Yeah. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll ask. But so yeah, it's funny because the TV goes staticky as if something's trying to get through. It's the third time that it works, but the second time I actually caught who it was that was trying to break through. I just heard his voice for a split second.
Because he's got such a distinctive voice, doesn't he?
Yeah, you could just hear Scott Glenn. You could hear Kevin's father, old Kevin Senior. And it's funny that every time it happens, the fire alarm goes off, and it's basically, well, at first I took it as a literal, they don't want him to get this message. Whoever's controlling this place does not want him to hear this message. But then it plays it off as, because he's got a fire next to him, like where he is, where Kevin Senior is, because he's in Australia.
Yeah, and it's setting off the alarms.
Yeah, it's setting off the alarms is the idea through the TV, as wacky as that sounds. But again, like, if we're going with the idea that this is 100% real, which again is weird for this show because it's never outright confirmed anything. It's always played it very ambiguous and like it could be or it couldn't be. And it's about believing things and not believing things. But you know, it's like he's taking some sort of wacky drug, his father, so he can communicate with him.
Right.
And that's what he's doing here. And it's just kind of this funny
Yeah.
representation of it of coming through the TV.
I do think it's strange that this is the, like you say, you know, it doesn't usually confirm these things. And obviously it didn't outright confirm this, but this feels more definitive than usual.
It does, because we're actually seeing things, which again, it could all be just a manifestation of what's going through his head.
Right.
It could be that, but given the fact that his father, like, it depends. Like, the next time he sees his father, does he reference that he sent him a
Yeah,
message.
if he ever
Yeah.
references this, that's it. Was real.
Um, so that would be interesting. He's the one that tells to take Patty to the well. Like, you shouldn't kill her. Don't do that. That's not what you should do. You should take her to the well. And that's obviously where we go at the end. But before we even get to all that stuff, like, so in this world, Patty's running for president.
Yes.
She's a governor or senator right now, and she's running for president. And we get a nice little sort of cameo from a few people who have dead, which is, again, it's everyone who's died. Gladys is like our chief of staff or whatever.
Campaign manager.
Campaign manager, sure. And we see her, and she's like questioning Kevin to make sure he's safe to go in, and all the rest of
You
it.
say questioning. You really mean
Torturing.
interrogating.
Yeah, interrogating is maybe a better word. Which obviously we'll talk about that scene because it gives us a few maybe insights into Kevin that we didn't have before because he's set up to a lie detector. So we have that. And so we have Kevin apparently, like, sort of before he woke up here, he paid 50 grand, so that donated 50 grand to her campaign so that he could get a meeting with her and sit down, and that's sort of what the episode's building up to for the first chunk of it. But Virgil's like, "Oh, I've planted a gun in the bathroom. You can get a gun and kill her."
It's in the toilet.
So it is very proper. Like, it feels like a spy story
It
to an
does.
extent. But the entire time, Kevin, and he's like, "What? What am I doing? Why is this happening?"
But he just has the moves somehow.
Yeah. And so that's all going on, and we're on smaller people. We, of course, Mary's in here, which I think is very interesting. You never see her face; you just see her from a distance.
But they say a name.
Yeah, but the idea that she is like halfway between the worlds right now because of the state she's in is kind of an interesting little tidbit. I was not expecting Wayne, and I definitely wasn't expecting him once again on a toilet seat, which I'm almost annoyed that he actually cracked a joke about that, because I actually just thought it was funny on its own that both times he's met him, he was on
Yeah.
a toilet seat.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though, it made me laugh when he walked in the bathroom and he was
Yeah.
just sat there on the toilet. I was just like,
Can I have some privacy, please?
it was good.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But of course, the meat of the episode is Kevin's like character growth, as you'd expect. It's in his head, and even to an extent, Patty's as well, which is weird because she's dead.
It's
But
not else. Just do they all know they're dead or not? Because obviously you've got like Patty's running.
well, there's one that knows. There's definitely one person who does.
Right, and is this something that maybe they all know, or is
Oh,
it
no,
just
no,
this
actually,
one person's
no.
accepted?
Actually, no, I can tell you exactly why. I can tell you who knows and why.
Go on.
There's a big thing in this episode about not drinking the water, and the only character who knows that he's dead and other people are dead is
the
Neil,
alcoholic.
Patty's husband, who's
Yeah.
only drinking booze, which the show is doesn't affect him because Kevin takes a swig and it's fine.
No, you're right.
Because Virgil remembers everything and he's like in the plan, and then later on he's like all been assimilated, and Kevin's like, "Hey, did you drink the water?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I was so thirsty," and it's
Yeah.
just so,
It's a nice idea that, because obviously it goes like to something like Greek mythology where you drink the food and eat the food and drink the water in the underworld, and then you're there for you belong to the underworld.
especially in this episode as well. Water's a big theme as well because drowning, like, he saves the little girl from drowning who looks as if it's the Neil's daughter. We don't know it's Neil at this point, obviously, but he's just kind of an asshole. And then later on, we find out that's actually Patty in disguise. The Patty we meet, who's the senator, is a much like sometimes like when you're assassinating people, people who are usually targeted for assassination.
Assassinating people.
Yeah, you know what I meant. Like, they'll have like body doubles. Like, that's even brought up. Like, Neil even jokes about it when he finds out, and Kevin's like, "Yeah, I'm an international assassin. That's my job." As if that's normal to just tell people, which is just makes it a really absurd conversation. And I love that his characteristic is that we find out it's him because he mentions that he can't find anyone to take a shit on him, and then Kevin's like, "Is your name Neil?"
It's a distinguishing feature. What can you say? The writers have set this up well enough that we hear that and we go, "That's got to be Neil."
It has to be, of course it's Neil. So the scenes I want to point out specifically, right? So we have the interrogation scene where Gladys gets them hooked up to this thing. It's a very simple red light that blinks or goes off whenever he lies. He's been under the alias Kevin Harvey, so he says that.
And as they point out, shit alias.
Yeah, which he can see the humour in that. And of course, obviously the big question that comes at the end is she's like, "Oh, do you smoke?" And he's like, "Yeah, I smoke." It's like, "Why do you smoke?" because I'm addicted to it. And it blinks, and they pour water in his eyes because that's him lying. Or I assume it's water, maybe something worse than that.
I thought it was like pepper spray.
It probably is, yeah, it probably is. But yeah, he's more he's in more discomfort than water in the eye would cause. Yeah, that's fair. But he's like, to remind myself of what? That the world ended, and it's like, oh, and that sort of sets up something that's about to come up with the scene with Patty, or fake Patty, I suppose, is that maybe the reason why he hated Patty so much, it wasn't just that his wife got taken, it's that partly he kind of agrees with a lot of the bullshit. He agrees with kind of the sentiment that was coming from them.
And like I say, you really get it in that scene with Patty Patty's double.
Yeah, she starts talking about all these things, and she says, why do people want to kill me? It's because they can't accept my truth. They know it deep down to be true, but they're so scared to admit it that they'd rather try and kill me instead. Which, of course, he's there to kill her. Like, it's so spelled out for you, but it's really good stuff. And it's a really, really strong scene that really gets into the kind of some of the core character elements of him. It's him realizing that, he hated her more than was even maybe normal, because he actually agreed with a lot of this stuff. He had the similar feelings about, oh, what's the point anymore? Like, but he processed it in a different way.
Yeah, ultimately a healthier way. But the feelings were still there.
Which is funny, because it's also not healthy at all. It's just healthier than killing yourself and starting a cult.
Yeah, most things are, to be fair.
Yeah. And it's a very emotional scene, and there's even some funny jokes where she tells Wayne to shoot him, because Wayne's our security guy, because he mentions Neil, but then they just like sort of shrug it off. But he goes and gets the gun and he shoots them all. But just before he shoots her, she's like, no, it's not. I'm not her. I'm a double, plastic surgery, and blah 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 blah. Virgil said she would try and trick him, but obviously he shoots her, and he thought he would just leave as soon as he kills her, and he doesn't. So
he's like, oh, she might have been telling the truth.
Yeah, so he ends up sitting next to Neil, and he finds out who that is, and it becomes clear that the little girl is not actually a little girl, so he realises that it's Patty in disguise. Like, this is actually Patty, this little girl. And he goes into the hotel, after he beats up Neil, of course. He ends up having a bit of a tiff with Neil.
Just a small tussle.
Small tussle, yeah.
Bring some of those international assassin skills to the table, though. It's no problem.
And he goes in, and little Patty is wearing a sign that says, what is this exact wording?
Oh God!
It's something about not talking, and it really cracked me up.
Yeah, they won't let me speak. It's not.
Yeah, but he basically just takes her, and she kind of willingly goes, "Yeah, I'll go with you." It's very willing, and
yeah, and if you're already going, what's the angle here? This feels like a trap.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going past Virgil, and they end up getting information of him where the nearest well is, which turns out to be in Jordan, Old Miracle Town.
What a surprise!
And by the way, I forgot to mention, the big reason why you knew it really wasn't Virgil anymore, or why he changed, was because he kills the bird. Like, because earlier on he says he hopes it doesn't get caught. Like, he wants it to be free. He likes birds. But then at the end here, he smacks it with the book, and he's like, "Oh, got it, everyone! Got the bird."
Yeah, and it was almost one of those moments that made me go, "How dark's this episode gonna get?" Because obviously the bird has been this, the idea that if it's still alive, then that was the symbol, right? If it was still alive after
the wish came true. Yeah.
So that was the sign.
Or you can make the wish actually if it was still alive. I think that was the thing, but yeah.
Yeah. But here, when it was killed, it was like, okay, so that bird's dead now. Like, is this Kevin's going to be stuck here? Like, his wish isn't going to come true?
And that's not. I mean, he's going to kill a kid, right? As much as we know it's Patty, we know it's not real or it's symbolic, and it's not actually a kid. Like, there's still just a sort of dark underlying thing to the fact that he's about to go and kill a kid.
Oh, it is, and that's in his head too, though.
And especially since
that's the whole dilemma he's having.
And he had to save her earlier on as well. Like, he rushed, not knowing who it was, he rushed to save her. It's like, there's a kid drowning. Like, I'm going to go and save her.
Of course.
And of course they're driving. There's some fun, she's like reading a book about they got the leaflet about the well, and she's reading the information on it, and she's like, "Oh, the indigenous people." That's funny that I got that.
Say indigenous.
Yeah, she couldn't say it properly, and I didn't say it the same way, but it's just funny that I stumbled on the word. But she's reading about it, and she's like, "Oh, they used to throw down in the well things they wanted to like sort of unburden themselves with." Let go kind of thing. And it's okay, this thematically makes a lot of sense. Like, he wants to let go of this memory of her to get rid of the talking Patty. It makes a whole lot of sense. They get to the town, and we get to that bridge that we've been seeing all season, but there's like the barrels of fire. It just feels just a little bit post-apocalyptic.
does, doesn't it? It's got this real edge to it.
And he gets out of the car, there's this guy there, and the guy like puts in, or actually the guy actually takes him out of the car. Like,
Yeah, with the noose. Yeah.
yeah, and he sets up the noose as if he's going to throw him off the bridge and hang him. And then he just sort of stops and gives him a choice. He's like, okay, you can either cross or you can jump off. It's like, why would I jump off? And because you don't want to kill a kid. And this goes into the debate. It's like, oh, he's not a kid. And I think this guy is either one of two things. He's either Kevin's own conscious, right? Trying to talk him out of this. Or it's Patty herself trying to talk him out of it and trick him.
Okay.
And I'm not sure which. I kind of like that he's conscious because he whispers something to him at the end, which we never get to hear, might I add.
Yes.
Before he does go on with little Patty. But
that works as a message from Patty as well, like the one last thing that we haven't heard from her.
Oh, true.
But then the idea that he'll when this person whispers it, he'll know that this is what this is. That this is from Patty.
Yeah. And we get to this well, and he's obviously very hesitant. And she and I actually love the little girl's acting here because she's just kind of like, just like, oh, you could do this, or you could push me.
You can drop me or push me.
Yeah. Pushing me's probably easier, and then she sits up on the well, and she's like, would it make it easier if I, shut my eyes? And he's like, no. And he's crying. The acting here is phenomenal, by the way. Like,
and she's like, what about if you shut yours?
Yeah. And then he sort of pushes her without really giving her warning. He just kind of does it. Like, it just,
it's in the middle of a sentence. Yeah. It's a really quick motion. There's no thought into it. It's just an action.
And then he hears her crying from the bottom of it. And she turned out a big Patty at this point. Big, regular Patty. And she's down at the bottom of the well and she's crying for help. So, and I think it's telling for Kevin's character that he just immediately climbs down. He's like, no, I'm going down.
Himself, can he?
Yeah.
He hears her crying for help.
He's climbing down. He ends up falling. He gets a little bit down when he's climbing, and he just falls. And they're both at the bottom of the well. He's sitting there kind of hurt. She's more hurt than he is, and she's like sit up, all wet, leaning against the the wall of the well. The wall of the well. So that's a fun phrase. The wall of the well. And this was maybe one of the most powerful scenes of the entire show.
It really says something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's powerful for it gives us an insight into Patty that we've never had before. It gives us a big insight into Kevin that we've never had before. We've been building to for 18 episodes since the start of the show, and then that goddamn new version of one of the themes that plays during here. It's that really slow, really basic, because it actually starts a lot earlier than you think it does. The bass of it starts to kind of come in really early, but then it hits the emotional bit. I think it's the cello. It's the really low version of the theme. The melody comes in, but really low down. It's very, very. It really drives it home. It drives it home just how big a scene this is in terms of reaching a climax of this emotional journey. For arguably both characters, even though technically it's just Kevin, if you don't believe that Patty's actually there.
Right, but it almost doesn't matter because the moment's still there for her.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't actually matter because the point of the scene is that Kevin basically accepts that she's a person, and she was a person before she became what he knew her as, and that's something that, because the end of the scene is so touching. He leans in and kisses her on the head and hugs her.
Yeah, it's almost as if she's still the child.
Yeah, and obviously the story she tells is that she wanted to leave her husband, and she'd been thinking about it for a while, which again kind of goes against but back at in the flashback episode in season 1, she was upset that he left her, and she told us this story. Oh, she needed money though, and she went on Jeopardy. So did you know I was on Jeopardy? And he's like, I was like, I don't watch Jeopardy.
She's like, just 50,000. That's all I needed.
All I needed. And she tells a story about how before she went out in the first show or first day there, the reigning champion. It's it's like a running champion on Jeopardy. He keeps going back until they get beat. And she's in the green room with them beforehand. The green room, if you don't know what that is, it's basically just the waiting room for people who go on shows. They sit around and have a drink before they go on. And she says, "Oh, do you know what he said to me before we went on? Nothing." Absolutely, and obviously her whole thing with the Guilty Remnant is they didn't speak, and I don't know if she started it because it still exists after she left it, but at the very least, it's a big part of what that is.
Do you know what? It really works in the sense that Kevin spent so long saying nothing to her. This season, he was just ignoring her.
That's true. That's a very nice parallel. That's really good, and she tells, "Oh, how powerful is that he didn't even have to say anything. He knew he was in, and obviously he lost. She won. She tells, I can't remember what the question was.
It's this illusion of control.
Yeah.
The question was something about geography. She said
it was biggest country. The answer was Kazakhstan. It was the biggest country near a body of water in a certain part of Asia. Something like that.
Yeah.
And the answer was Kazakhstan, and she won, and she won X amount of thousand, and then she won the next night and the night after that, and it wasn't until the fourth night that she lost, but she'd already earned like 65,000. It was enough, and she could leave him. And this is when the music's really starting to get emotional. She's like, but I didn't because I was scared, and she says she's scared now, and like Kevin's like crying through all of this, and this is when he like, leans in and hugs her and kisses her, and then he drowns her. He puts her head under the water and kills her. And she struggles a little bit as well, but he does it.
But she doesn't fight him.
No, I mean it's sort of the natural struggle of like when you run out of breath and you start to
Yeah, you're flailing to get air.
Yeah, and it's really emotional. And what I love about it is it really is like what he really had to do to let her go was to accept that she was a person, that she had worries and fears and thoughts and feelings, and she wasn't just this villain that he'd painted her as. Even as this suicidal kind of maniac that she was at the end of her life, she wasn't always that. She was a person.
Right.
She got there for a reason. Accepting that that October 14th, affected him in a way as well, but it affected her even worse.
Yeah, the idea that it did affect everyone, even, and he couldn't really comprehend that before because he was kind of caught up in how it affected him. He was very selfish in that sense.
Yeah. And it's him accepting that, and him accepting that, like, no, she is a person, and that, and I think if there's one thing that I would never have expected to see it, a few episodes into season 1 of this show is like, oh, there's going to be an emotional scene where Kevin hugs Patty. I'd be like, nah.
Yeah. Where it humanises Patty to this extent.
And I think it does work for her as well as a character, because you kind of see just the tragedy of the story. Like, she was scared to leave him, and then suddenly he left her.
Yeah.
Like...
And again, it kind of works. If this is real, it's this idea that Patty's been hanging around with Kevin because she's scared to move on from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's scared to go into the afterlife. Yeah,
and he has to be the one to leave her and send her on to the next bit of her journey.
Yeah, it works. It works no matter if it's real or not. Which is,
it does.
And if it isn't real, it still works for him as a character because he's
he's
learning all
none
this.
Of it's real. It always works for Kevin.
But
it works extra if it is real.
Exactly, and we're never going to know, and I think that's fine. Like, you can.
I don't need them to tell me definitively. They might do, because they could, for once, tell us definitively through Kevin Senior. They could, but they don't need to.
Do you know what I can see them doing? Actually, I can see him saying something that could be interpreted as he's confirming it, but you can actually write it off as, oh, he's just making a little goofy line. Like, he'll say, "Oh, I tried to call you when I was in Perth. I don't know if I got through though." Or something like that. Like, it'd be something like that, and you're like, oh, that could mean that, but it might just mean something normal.
Yeah.
I could see them pulling that, because they're sly bastards when it comes to these things.
They are.
So sure enough, he wakes up out of his shallow grave, and Michael's standing there. He went to get a drink, he comes back around with a drink, and he's like, oh shit.
What just happened?
Yeah. And sure enough, there he is. There's Kevin up. I have no idea where we're going for these last 2 episodes of this season.
I couldn't tell you. But this was a phenomenal episode.
And I have no idea what the fallout of this is going to be. Like, these exact events. I mean, obviously the big thing we still have to deal with is Tom. And what what became of that story.
And we've not really got anything to do with the ongoing Guilty Remnant stuff with Meg.
Oh, sure, yeah, Liv Tyler and her. Yeah, we've only seen her in 1 episode, so I assume that'll tie into Tom's thing. I
assume so.
Yeah, but, like, yeah, I in terms of Kevin, because now I'm like, I feel like John has to have, like, an arc breakthrough by the end of the season.
Because otherwise it's like, what's he here for?
I mean, unless he's also in season 3, and it's like kind of like Kevin here, where it was like 18 episodes to get to this point, which, and this feels like, and he had a relatively good moments in the season 1 finale, he did, but he wasn't quite fully there yet, and I assume there's still going to be more with him, obviously, but once again though, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Ann Dowd is still a main character in season 3, so how do we still have Patty? Does he still see her, but it's like a more of a pleasant thing now?
Does she come to actively choose to help? She's like, look, we settled our differences.
Or does he show up for someone else? Does Laurie start seeing Patty?
You never know, do you?
I really don't.
Well, I don't know what this pulls, but it could pull anything, and I'm kind of just going to have to go with it, because episodes like this prove that it can just do something surprising.
I'll tell you this right now, though. This season has been phenomenal. So, like, how few episodes? Like, we've had 8 episodes this season now. This was episode 8. Most of them have felt like this, where at the end I've been like, "Oh, that was fantastic." There's
Yeah.
only been maybe 1 or 2 where they weren't like standouts, if that makes sense.
And this one's stand out above because it's it's different in another world.
Yeah.
It's different, and it's got that style where the big piece of music comes in. And
Yeah.
it's synced up with all these actions. It's it's a very different piece of music to the regular stuff that we get.
The last one with the shock ending, the one before that with that great conversation between Erica and Nora, that all came to a
Yeah,
head.
it's been so much.
The Matt episode, I mean, if anything, the Matt episode was almost
Well, that's one of the weaker ones.
yeah, it's still good,
Comparatively,
but
which
yeah,
is saying, yeah, that's what I mean. It's still a very good episode, but it's one of the weaker ones comparatively.
the payoff in these like last 3 episodes has been extraordinary. It's been great stuff. So no, I am deeply looking forward to seeing where this goes in the last 2 episodes of the season.
Yeah. Also, just while we're looking forward, I really hope they change that theme tune again in season 3.
Oh, I'm sure they will. They've set precedent now that it changes.
I hope they do, because my girlfriend started watching through it recently this past week.
Has she
And
caught up with you, or is she?
no,
still-
yeah, she's still on season 1. She's getting to the end of season 1, but I've just been hearing that title music every so often. And I'm like, God damn it, it's so much better.
Sitting playing some Mario Kart and you just hear it in the distance. Like, oh.
Pretty much. I'll be in the other room and I'll just hear that big sweeping opening and be like, God damn it, I missed that. And it wasn't even the best part of the music. I was just like, I just missed that comparatively.
Interesting. But there you go. That has been episode 8 of Leftovers. We're trying to pick up the pace. I swear we are. But we are planning to record another one tomorrow. You won't get it tomorrow necessarily, but we're planning on recording one tomorrow so that we're starting to get ahead of the schedule a little bit.
This one was only delayed slightly due to Twin Peaks, so blame that.
I don't know if I want to blame Twin Peaks. I feel like there's a sole cause for the delay of this episode, and its name is Connor. So
I disagree with that.
you fell asleep before Twin Peaks. You fell asleep the night after Twin Peaks. So don't give me.
But I was awake for Twin Peaks because that's where my priorities were. Because Twin Peaks was everything.
Look, I'm not saying I regret delaying it by 1 day for Twin Peaks, but delaying it the second day was not the plan. Delaying it the second day was completely just.
Okay, I'll take blame for that one. But I tried to shift it. Okay.
Anyway, that has been episode 8 of Leftover Season 2. Let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailoffuzztv. You can do that over there. You get these Leftovers reviews a week early, so that's worth something. So go and have a look at that. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV. I'll see you next time.